All right, you are still on Good Morning Nigeria, and then we're reaching you from our studios in Abuja on the network servers. As a prompt for our conversation today, Nigeria and 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and I say green, white, green for gold. Let's listen to this background report put together by Abdul Salam Jubril.
The Olympics is finally here, and the destination, Tokyo, Japan. Originally scheduled to take place from 24th July to 9th August last year, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics was postponed as a result of COVID-19. The international sporting event, where thousands of athletes from around the world participate in a variety of sporting activities, will therefore be held behind closed doors, with few spectators permitted under COVID-19 protocols. Since Nigeria made her debut in 1952, Nigerian athletes have appeared in every edition of the Summer Games, with the exception of the 1976 Olympics in Montreal, Canada, because of the African boycott. For many Nigerians, the Olympics brings back memories, particularly of the 1996 Atlanta Games, where Nigeria earned her first gold medal and a total of 6 medals.
Oh my goodness, it's 7:12. It's a new African and Commonwealth record for the Nigerian. That is going to be very, very tough to beat.
It was the country's best Olympics performance to date. Team Nigeria has since arrived Tokyo for the Games, with the hope of winning laurels for themselves and country. Already, some sports pundits have identified medal hopefuls to include Odunayo Adekunroye. She is the reigning Commonwealth wrestling champion. Blessing Okabari is another of such hopefuls. This will be her 4th Olympic Games. She is one of the country's prospects in the 100-meter sprint. The men's basketball team, the Tigers, qualified for the Olympics as the highest-ranked African team. During warm-up games for the Olympics, they defeated Team USA, the highest-ranked basketball team in the world. It is expected that the team will win a medal in the basketball event. With about 60 athletes participating in 10 events that includes athletics, gymnastics, swimming, and table tennis, among others, what are the chances of Team Nigeria at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics? Will the current Team Nigeria surpass the successes recorded by the Atlanta 96 Olympic team? Guests on the program will speak to these and more shortly.
All right, thank you very much, Abdul Salam Jubril, there for that background. We have sports analysts and, of course, former sports men to discuss the matters on the 2020 Olympics today. With us here in the Abuja studios, let's welcome Dr. Mike Nahoro, who's a sports analyst and a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Dr.
Good morning,
Nahoro,
Nigeria.
Pleasure to have you this morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Also here with us in the studios, another sports analyst and a regular on a number of NTA programs, usually on sports, Jacob Oyekale. Oyekale is popularly known as JJ. I'm tempted to say not the original JJ, but it's also a JJ in its own right.
Yeah, good morning, Nigeria. Mine is Architect JJ.
That's right. So delight to have you, Oyekale.
It's a pleasure.
In our studios this morning. Yeah. And Claire?
And our next guest will be joining us via Zoom from Ilorin, Kwara State. And he is Hamid Adio, an Olympian and a broadcaster. He was Nigeria's Olympic captain to Moscow in 1980, former commissioner for Information, Youth and Sports and Culture in Kwara State, a member of the World Olympians Association, a sports journalist, a veteran sports journalist, I should add, Hamida Diou has covered 7 Olympic Games for NTA and the African Union. Should I say Tuale, sir?
Good morning, Claire, and your colleague there. Good morning and welcome to the opening ceremony of the most unusual Olympics.
That's interesting. Also joining us via Zoom all the way from Tokyo is Chika Chukwumerije. If we can say him via Zoom. Chika Chukwumerije is a 2-time Olympian and technical director, Nigeria Taekwondo Federation. Chika, thank you very much for joining us all the way from Tokyo.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a 3-time Olympian, not 2.
Oh my God! How could I have done that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kingsley. You want to take it?
All right. Well, Chika, we might as well start the conversation with you in Tokyo. We know that it's morning here in Nigeria, and you should be 8 hours ahead of us right now. That's nearly 4 o'clock in Tokyo. Tell us, what is the mood like in the contingent that Nigeria is presenting for the Tokyo Games?
I think it's fantastic. Our guys and our ladies are really upbeat about their performance. We actually started today. I think we had Aurora Esther, who posted her fastest time ever, and she has gone through to the next round, I think. So I think the mood has been very good so far. There has not been any complaints from the side of welfare or the accommodation. So I think so far so good. And when I talk to the athletes, you don't get the feel like they just came here to just have fun. You actually see that they want to do well and do well for the country. And this is a good mental state for the athletes to be in.
During the preparations, I saw a video of you taking on, I should say, your girl, that's Elizabeth Ayanacho, and I know that. She will be chasing for her medal, I think, on Monday.
Yes, she'll be competing on the 26th. Her opponent is out, so she's meeting Turkey first. Tata is a double Olympic medalist. Tata is a former world champion and European champion. And when you look at Elizabeth, you're like, oh, she doesn't have a chance because the Olympics is a G20, and the highest Elizabeth has ever competed in is a G4. You see their rankings are different. But we've done a lot of work with Elizabeth. She has she's very strong mentally. And I've told her that, look, there's no fight that is going to be easy. So if you want to be on the podium, you really have to beat the best to be the best. And that's where we are. So yes, she's 4 years early. The target obviously was for Paris. But I said we're here now, so we can start trying to get on the podium right now in Tokyo. So that's it. On Monday, it gets underway. She's competing at 10 a.m., which is about 2 a.m. in Nigeria.
Okay, let me go back again to Esther. With the time you said she did her fastest time ever. Will that place her on a very good record? And what's your candid assessment of her chances, for the gold?
I don't know the sport of rowing, but I know that when someone tells me that she normally her best time from what she told me was about I think 9 minutes, and she did 8 minutes something. So I don't know what's the standard in rowing, but I know that when someone tells me she's done her best time ever and she has another chance tomorrow, then I think it's a good start for her. So the only thing I know is that each time we're at the Olympics in the past, we didn't use rowers that actually live in Nigeria. The last time it was one of us that was actually British, British Nigeria. This rower is 100% local content, born bred, lives in Nigeria. So I think that was a very good thing. And for her to post a fastest time at her first attempt at the Olympic Games, then I think is a very good thing for her. So what I can do is I can get more details from her and get back to you on that.
All right, Chika, I still want to stay with you since the Zoom connection is smooth at this time. How much of an impact, if any, is the fear of COVID-19 having on athletes and officials?
Well, I think the organizers are literally paranoid about it. So what do I mean? Everywhere you see provision for masks, you see you must sanitize your hands and all that. So they've gone through extra measures to see how they can curtail it. But you know, this is the athletes' village, so people still move in groups sometimes. When you eat, you have to still take off your mask, and when you train, you still have to take off your mask. So I think they've done everything they can to make sure that people keep the distance, that things are clean, people wear their masks and all that. So some countries, you see that they take it to the extreme. I hear that maybe like in the Great Britain accommodation, they have these self-sanitizing surfaces and all that. So I think the attitudes varies from country to country, but overall, the organizers have been very strict about trying to keep people safe from COVID. And when we had the team leader meeting for Taekwondo, you find out that a lot of conversations actually about COVID, how to make sure that we're all safe. Because if just one person tests positive, it could rule out the entire team because of contact tracing. So even both our internal briefing and the group briefing, they are very, very specific that we have to be careful, because if just one person has it, it could jeopardize the chances for an entire team. So everybody's quite aware of what to do to keep safe from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, stay with you, Chika. I know you've interacted with the team. I'd like for you to share with us. We also hear that there was private, public hand to assist in their welfare and other financial needs. What exactly is the mood, beyond the personal disposition to winning the game? What is the general atmosphere in the camp?
I mean, when we came in, we went to the training camp in Kizarazu. It was a 5-star hotel, so the accommodation was very good. The food was good. They made arrangement to get Nigerian food and all that. Before we left Nigeria, they gave them their kits, so they've been fully kitted. And for the ones that did not have, maybe because they came earlier, I think they brought it in and gave it to them. So from a welfare perspective, that has been sorted. Are you asking, have they paid allowances? I think when everyone comes in, that also will be sorted. Here in the Games Village, the food is very good. The atmosphere is very cozy. I remember it's very different from like Beijing. The Beijing Olympic Village was a very, very big village. This is a lot more cozy. Nigeria was the 8th floor, so we took most of the 8th floor and some of the 7th floor. And so far, once you come in, the NOC guy is here. Immediately, they give your room keys to you, so that is sorted. For the athletes, they have these new Samsung Galaxy phones, and the NOC has gone out of their way to get the phones for the athletes. So as they arrive, they also give it to them. And there's a briefing to show you like where the whole Games Village is. So from a logistics all point of view, it also has been good. I don't think there's a lot to complain about. And the NOC and the ministry have done a good job of dotting the I's and crossing the T's for the logistics with regards to the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games.
All right, Chika Chukwumerije, we'll keep you on pause. In the meantime, I return to you in the course of the conversation. Let's go over now to Hamid Adio, who was earlier introduced, himself also an Olympian, and covered a number of Olympics for the Nigerian Television Authority. Well, Hamid, while you were being introduced, you did say that this is indeed most unusual Olympics that we all can think of in living memory. Why do you say that, and what impact is this likely to have on performance and outcomes?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. I said that because the Olympic Games to me is the greatest human spectacle, the greatest gathering of sportsmen and sportswomen from around the world who are top-notch, in their various countries. For Tokyo 2020, 11,000 athletes from 206 countries competing in 33, Olympic events is massive. The International Olympic Committee, the organizers themselves, refer to these games as the most complex Olympic Games. Pardon me if I say, to me, is the pandemic Olympics. Why do I say so? Because this is an Olympic Games with a lot of oddities. One, it's the Olympic Games where I am witnessing a situation in which the residents of the host city, are not in any way very enthusiastic receiving visitors from other parts of the world. No thanks to COVID-19. You know that once a city wins, the right to host the Olympic Games, they keep on preparing very seriously. And I think it is instructive to also note that countries don't host Olympic Games. It is cities that host Olympic Games. In this case, Tokyo. The last time they hosted was in 1964. The residents are not too enthusiastic because they are afraid of the super spread, syndrome, of COVID-19. One also would not be too happy to witness an Olympic Games where competitors, will showcase their talents in the presence of very sparsely populated, stadium. In fact, that is very, very, for me, very disconcerting, because athletes want, spectators, to see them, to hail them, to, ginger them into action. But this time around, some of the stands might not witness, spectators. And also, for me, it is the Olympic Games that made history ever before they even started. Why do I say so? A lot has happened, in this Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. You recall that even the opening ceremony that will take place today, the director of the opening ceremony, something has been fired. That's the name of Kantero Kobayashi. And also, before this, the start of this Olympics, we also discovered that the president of the local organizing committee had to give way. But in spite of all this, the residents are very much apprehensive. What they are supposed to do, if everything is normal, is for us seeing them, cheering the athletes, mixing very freely with people. And well, unfortunately, that is not the case. I'm very happy that Chuka said that the Games Village is alive, and there's movement of athletes, but I know that definitely it will not be as it used to be, before, where athletes are very free with each other, with one another. And you can also note that even before the commencement of these games, some athletes, have tested positive, especially the footballers from South Africa, tested positive. Some of them will be isolated. And I think this is very depressing for somebody who has trained very seriously for an Olympic Games like this, just to, at the last minute, just to be asked to ease out him or herself is very, very disconcerting. And but we noted that it takes 10,000 hours, of training for an athlete to be able to make the Olympic Games, and putting in that kind of effort. And at the end of the day, you are not able to showcase your talent. I think is very depressing and very disconcerting. That's why I said it is the most unusual Olympic Games.
I will still stay with you and speak within the context of the strangeness of this of the Olympics. Now, what is Olympics without spectators? We do see athletes, sometimes urging the crowd to cheer them on, and people like Chama Juma, Marion Yali, they seek, the cheers from the spectators. What might be the impact of that on the outcome of, individual performances? That's one. And what impact will it also have on the totality, of the game itself?
Well, the first, let me say, of the games itself, the spectators not allowed to come into the stands would definitely discourage the athletes. That is number one. Because of the fact that the athletes need a lot of motivation, they need to be gingered on, by the crowd. Unless and until, of course, I want to say there's a lot of psychological propping of the athletes by the coaches, not to mind whatever they were experiencing in the stands before they go for their various sports. I think that can play a lot of, good role, in motive. But for me, Olympic Games without spectators, it's a low. It's a very terrible low.
Hamid, thanks a lot. We understand the sentiments that you have expressed, and we'll see how things roll in the coming days. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Now back to our studios here. Both Dr. Mike Inahoro and architect J.J. Oyekale have, of course, been listening to the other two guests who have been with us via Zoom. First, Mike, the Tokyo Olympics have started with a formal opening ceremony coming up in some hours. It appears that both the LOC, that's the Local Organizing Committee, the IOC, that's Olympic International Olympic Committee, and the WHO, of course, just wanted the games to go ahead regardless.
The investment towards this Olympics has been already committed by the Japanese government and by the major sponsors. And that was done in anticipation of the fact that 2020 was the date. So when you have those kinds of investments and the kinds of returns that, infrastructural returns that countries have committed to, you must remember that this has been going on for rather a long time. The bidding was done 7 years ago, and the award was done 4 years ago. And so those commitments in terms of infrastructure build out, train, metro, airports, malls, hostels, accommodation, cars, logistics, short-term employment for staff, and again, the return on investment on GDP has already been calculated in terms of fans, the number of airlines that will come in, and hotel stay. You can't just cancel. The pandemic, again, we have had 2 years now of dealing with the pandemic. And right now, unlike many other people, and my senior brother, Hamid Adio, put it in the right way, the spectacle is driven by participation from the local community. This is how you own it, because it is a city that applies, not a country. So this is how you own it, by being part of the process. You have over 100,000 Japanese people working throughout to make sure that these games go on. You also have another 6 million that are looking to participate in any way they can. But you have to take the consideration that this is COVID. This is the pandemic that we all have. And we have had 2 years now of having to do this. The athletics championships have shown, world championships have taken place in all these sports by how crowd participation. You also have had a tester with the Euros. So we have had a tester with the Euros, and we have had teams that have had sick players being removed. And every team right now has a bubble. Like Chika was just saying, the Nigerian team has its own bubble. Everybody has their own bubble to work with. So this is the new normal. The earlier we get used to this, because even sponsors have changed. Sponsors understand how to work within the pandemic of sponsoring large sporting events. So now we just have to go through this. This is the new normal. A lot of TV stations have been put around Tokyo. A lot of watch viewing centers. A lot of drive on telecommunications, so you can get sports on your TV, on your phone, or on all your telecommunications gadgets. So we may not be participating in the traditional sense of crowds at the stadium, but let nobody get it twisted that participation is not there. It has just transitioned into the IT digital space, because the IT digital space will tell you that people are watching, that people are participating, that people are cheering you on. And athletes have been known to give constant updates on their Twitter feeds, Facebook feeds, Instagram feeds. So we follow them. We see the live video streams of them coming out of their dressing room, of them going in to compete and them giving interviews afterwards. The world has changed. The world is now more tech related and tech savvy. So this Olympics will be the first of its kind driven by digital technology rather than being followed by the traditional sense of crowds in the stadium. And athletes have had 2 years to prepare for this. Footballers have been playing football for 2 seasons now without crowds in the stadium. Athletes have run their races without crowds in the stadium. So they are ready for this. They are here for individual and team excellence, and that will not change, whether there is somebody sitting down cheering them on or not, because they know that once they open their phone before and after this event, they will get the whole crowd accolades and crowd support that they need. So we have changed and we have migrated, and this is where we are right now.
All right, Mike, thanks. Well, the Tokyo Olympics has started, regardless of COVID-19 or whatever we think. It's taking off. And fortunately, a Nigerian, Esther Tamara Miebi, has moved on to the next round in the rowing women's event. She's a home-based. She's done, according to Chukwumerije Chika, she's done her best time ever in the first race, doing 8 minutes from 9 minutes. JJ, this is all about preparation. She's a home-based. Speak to us about our preparation for this world event.
Well, I do emphasize on these 6 P theories. Proper preparation prevent poor performance. In any activity you want to set out to do at all, one key thing is the preparation part. Because, for example, an event like the Olympics, it's in 3 stages. You have the pre-Olympics, Olympics proper, and the post-Olympics. Unfortunately, many times in this part of the world, we don't pay attention to pre and post, because that actually orchestrated the performance you are going to give in the main Olympics. To prepare a podium finish athlete takes between 8 and 6 years. Proper preparation, meaning that it has to overlap one Olympics. And by the time you even squeeze your program, you need a minimum of 3 years to properly prepare an Olympiad. And for you to prepare an athlete for a big event like the Olympics, you need a lot of commitments. You need funds. The facility had to be there, and you need the support of your government through the sport ministry and the federation. I believe the ministry have done its best, because I think they have woken up to the present realities that government cannot adequately fund sports, and the ministry have been lending the hands to the to the private sector, and that is where you now have maybe fund an athlete, and you see individuals, corporate bodies, the governors of some state sponsoring an athlete. I believe if this had been there before, an athlete like Fashuba wouldn't have angrily left the state, because this was part of why he left the state. I remember the last Olympics in 2016. 2 of our basketballers refused to participate because of insurance issues. So all these are basic preparation process we need to actually go through. And as a country, we need to imbibe that culture of knowing that it's a circle. There is no time you have to stop. It's a circle. It has to be like a conveyor belt, whereby if you are preparing for a major event, even others that are learning, budding ones, key into it. So if you don't participate in this one, you are a prospect for the next one. And those that you believe they are beginning to fall off have a role to play by being mentors to those falling off. So, in preparing for this Olympics, as it has been said, it's an unusual Olympics, and it's been very difficult to expose them to facilities from other countries. That is because you have to work within what you have now because of the pandemic that we have. And that is a wake-up call that you have to be self-sufficient as a nation, meaning that most of the facilities that are rotting away, this is the time for us to know that we need to really work on them. Unfortunately for us, we have some edifices here in Abuja, in Lagos, there is one in Port Harcourt and another one in Kaduna that over time they have not been they have not measured up to world standard. So this is a wake-up call for us. And again, if you realize that because of the inadequacies of our technical people, it cost us one of our strongest sports, that is the relay team. Maybe because the track was not properly marked.
Sorry, will the, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Will the lack of exposure to foreign facilities, to other in advanced facilities,
let's say modern facilities,
will it impact heavily?
Definitely it impacts, because I remember when the issue of in football, when the issue of the new penalty rule, when it was first started, our under-19 female team then, they were naive and it really affected them. But we are in a global village now, whereby you are exposed to, you can know what is happening anywhere in the world through your phone and through the internet. So, meaning that the departments in every facet of it must do their work, because sports on its own is a very, very big industry. You don't just look at it as when you say sport and it's like that. You have, there is this echelon in every sport industry. The athletes have their own, the medical team have their own, the place for the facility, even those maintaining the facility, and you have what you call refresher training for those maintaining the facility and the athletes to use the facility. And there is even a space for the psychologists too, to psych your athlete up. You can actually do this. You can, the person you are competing with is a human like you. All they have as an advantage over you is because they have been using this early. But
if you look at the track and field team, most of them are foreign based.
Sure.
Yes.
There are some foreign based and there are some local based, and some of them that are foreign based actually moved from here to the foreign land, and I think that is still circling around what we are saying. Yes, they are foreign based, and why do they go foreign? That is because that is where the best of facilities are.
I disagree.
Okay.
No, yes,
I
for
totally
now.
Disagree.
You might disagree,
No,
but that is where the best of facilities are. Because it gives room for competition.
No. You're belittling the work that has been done by amazing people in this country. Miss Ophili left here last year. Rosemary Chukuma grew up in Jiwa, right here. And she ran for Kids and Play up until last year. You have Miss Udo. You have a guy like Ishekiri. You have Enoch. You have Divine Oduduru. Delta State will fight you. Because Divine grew up here. His training was here. His his championship winning times that brought him into fame was here. There's a lot of work we do here. A lot of work. Amazing work that has been done. The rower and the canoeing, we must thank the federation for sticking with these kids. For rowing, for canoeing, for swimming. We now have a swimmer. There are two things that are very catalyst in Nigeria's progression. Two things. One, we have to acknowledge grassroots work. And we have to go back, because Nigeria's manpower is one of its strategic opportunities that it has an edge against the world. You have 200 million people that are majority between the ages of 17 and 24. So you can win any Olympics, you can. And then you have 4 million Nigerians from your immigrant community who are now going into second and third generations that all of them want to compete. So you have 204 million capable Nigerians. If you pick 60 out of them, you have done the best 60, because one of the things is we are not picking based on individuals. There's an international standard time. Whether the Russian, the Chinese, the English, the United States, the Nigerian, you must pass that qualification standard time that brings everybody to ground zero. So kudos to the ministry, kudos to the clubs, kudos to the states, kudos to the associations who brought 42% of your national team going to the Olympics are, one, under 25, and two, they are raised from here and have only left here within the last 12 months. So you are looking at
the same thing.
We're not. No. Nigeria has the best situation for this Olympics. We raise them from here.
Get me right.
If you don't give us the kudos right now, when are you going to do that?
I didn't condemn it.
Say it right now that Nigeria is taking the best team to the Olympics from Nigeria.
I think you are trying to put words into my mouth. I never condemned the athletes.
Apart from basketball.
I was asked a question, and I'm trying to respond to the question that athletes move from here to the foreign land.
Because of infrastructure. We have them here and we use them.
Infrastructure is part of it.
We use them.
But basically, Nigeria has the talent in abundance. For example, if you go to the River Rhine area, you see kids that can spend 4-5 hours inside the water. But what they lack is the techniques to compete at the major events.
Wrong again.
And now that we are waking up to the reality that these are potentials, then we are now going that way. And that is why, for the first time, we are having swimmers competing for us, and we even see them as potential podium finishers.
But the swimmers, the lady, that's the Bello, the athlete for the canoeing and the rowing, don't have I don't know, exposure, foreign. Yes.
Do you need it? Do you need it when you have the template?
Which means enough work had been done
here
at home.
Yes,
definitely.
Okay, you know what,
yes.
Gentlemen, let's return to Chukwumerije, to lead us more into the state of athletes who are competing in our, shall we say, non-traditional sports at the Olympics, because all you hear track and field. I was quite delighted to hear that, we're getting into rowing, these water sports, for that matter. Chukwumerije, I know that that's not your terrain, but what do you know about these athletes who are into the water sports? Chika, sorry, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. But
yes, I can hear you. Sorry.
All right. So let me take my question again. Let me take my question again. What do you know about the athletes who are competing in the water sports? And
I've actually not met. I know it's one person qualified for swimming, but I've not met the person. So probably it's better when I have a conversation with the person. But
fantastic.
I was pleasantly surprised to see that we qualified someone for swimming, and I've been following the conversation with Mike and with everyone, and it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting because it's. I'll give you an example with the Elizabeth. It's taken me 6 years, and as you said, it needs a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge. But I agree with Mike that actually we can do it in Nigeria. We just need a bit more discipline with trying to allocate the resources to the right place and bring that kind of support. But most of our team here are fully Nigerian. So apart from probably the basketballers and gymnastics, but the rest can be said to be forged in the fires of Nigeria. And that's a great thing. But for the swimmer, I was very surprised to learn we had a swimmer, and I felt good. I felt good that we have swimming here. I feel good that we have gymnastics here. I feel very good that we have badminton here. So there's quite a range of sports that qualify for the Olympics this time, and that's a commendable thing. As you said, it's not just athletics. Football is not even here, but we have other sports to cover in for that. So again, what I can do is I've not yet met her, and I won't be in the games with it long because after the taekwondo event, I have to leave within 48 hours. But hopefully, I'll get to see her before we go and kind of have a conversation on how she's feeling mentally ahead of her debut at the Olympics.
Okay, I still want to get back to you, Chika. In the 2016 Rio Olympics, there was also the issue of Zika virus, if you remember. It wasn't a pandemic at the time, it was an epidemic of Zika virus, and there were a number of high-profile withdrawals. I recall a number of the top 10 tennis players pulled out of the Rio Olympics. Now, what did that do in terms of the atmospherics to the athletes where they were competing at the games? I'm asking this question because somehow the more you seek to interrogate what is happening around the world, you're asking yourself, well, yes, you have to be careful, but is the paranoia, is it getting just so overwhelming that, you know, it might just then overshadow what the WHO itself has now described as a celebration of hope?
It's a careful balance. Note that for athletes, they've trained all their life. Even if this pandemic is crippling, if you ask most athletes, I'm sure that the good percentage will rather compete and let there be measures put in place, you know, because the world must go on. We must fight this virus. I think this virus has been particularly crippling because it's been pervasive, it's global, every country has been touched. And but you find out that lots of people actually have the virus and they are okay. So when you actually look at the number of people that maybe they died from the virus and the number of people that had it, there's a huge discrepancy. So this virus has got into our heads, you know, and even as a human race, it's something that we have to fight and make sure that our lives must go on. So I really agree that the games must go on. I think the organizers have done the right thing. They are doing everything possible. I mean, they test us every single day. So every single day we have to give our samples, and once you test positive, quickly they quarantine and they seal up the area and whoever is around you. So I think this is the way forward, you know, because life must go on. Okay, if this virus is here to stay, are we going to cancel Paris Olympics? If the virus is still around by Los Angeles, will we cancel the game? So I think the world is doing the right thing to proceed in a very deliberate way, you know. And don't forget, most people who are participating in these games are actually vaccinated. I know for the Nigerian team, literally all of us are fully vaccinated. So I think the right thing is being done to make sure that the world moves on, but in a deliberate way, because much, much more is known about the virus and how to tackle it.
Okay, thank you. Let me go to Ilorin and bring in Hamid Adio. And I'll still look at the preparation, you know, for these games. Now, Our pre-Olympic trial performances, both team. Okay, so I understand he's not online. So let me take it back again to Chika Chukwumerije. Our pre-Olympic trial performances, both for team and individual athletes, are usually very impressive, and indeed they've done well, from football to tennis to athletics. They've all done well, during the trials and friendlies. But is that anything to hold on to? I understand Blessing did 10.62, which is the best so far. Should we be, happy or rejoicing, at those performances?
The Olympics is different. You see, when you're in a friendly, perhaps the intensity is not, and the atmosphere, the significance is very different from the Olympics. And I can tell you that in training and in friendly, the moves I'll do, you feel like, wow, this guy is like Bruce Lee, is like Jackie Chan. But when you get to the Olympics, suddenly you find out that your performance might just not be the same. But why I feel a bit different this time is there's a bit of experience. Like when you mentioned Okabare, she has a lot of experience, and I think that's going to count when the Olympics starts. You see Ese Brume, you see the wrestlers. I trained with the wrestlers because they trained alongside with Taekwondo. So Odunaya and the rest of them. So it's not like real where there was a lot of talent and they trained a lot and they almost made it. This time you can see that there's a lot of experience to back it up, and that's why you just have to be hopeful, because at the Olympics, unfortunately, this is the best of the best, and just a little mistake or just a little of everything makes all the difference. And definitely there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. So sometimes Nigeria will go there thinking that, wow, we've done our best. But honestly, when you put us side by side with all the countries that actually win medals, then you know that actually we've not done enough. And that's just the truth of the matter. So if you say you've done 4 competitions, for instance, and you put yourself beside the US or China or all those top countries, maybe they'll tell you we've done 30 competitions. If you say you spent 1 million naira, they'll tell you they spent 200 million naira. So you find out that when you look at the resources spent, you look at the number of time, the support structure, then Nigeria always has an unfair advantage when we go against most of our opposition. Normally what stands out is just the spirit, we just have this, we go do and we go beat you, no matter, For example, Liz is going to meet Turkey. She is world champion, she's European champion, she's all this, but I told Liz, I said, in my career, I beat 2 world champions when they were world champions. And I told her I was nobody. I had nothing. But when I entered the ring, I just said, you were world champion because I was not there. And I think this kind of mentality, you find it is very predominant among Nigerian athletes. We just believe that, look, we've been waiting for this chance. And now that we have this chance, we know that we have to use it. Because if we don't win a medal, if we don't make an impression, we don't know if we'll be here next time. We don't know if you give us allowance. We don't know if you receive us well. We don't know anything. But we know that if we win a medal, then the media will write about us. Maybe the presidency will host us. You might get a house. You might get a car. And of course, your friends, you become a star. And this kind of propels Nigerians a lot, that when they're on this stage, after suffering to get there, they will know that they want to make a mark. So I hope that all this will help to push us onto the podium when the game starts. Well, it has started. So when our people start competing.
Okay, Chika Chukwumerije, Hamid Adio, JJ Oyekale, and Mike Enaho. Gentlemen, we're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation. All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria on NTA's network service. Let's return to Hamid Adio. with us via Zoom from Ilorin. Hamid, tell us something. I mean, for those of us who are usually enthusiasts in watching the Olympics, it's one thing to wish that the athletes of your country will be on the podium, but of course you are competing against the very best from elsewhere around the world. Is there a sense in which athletes sometimes, if not most times, tend to peak before the big event, so that in trials and all that, or even the early rounds, you hear them breasting the tapes, saying track and field, their best times, and then the last moment, nobody usually comes last, but usually they are eighth. Why is this always so? And how can it be obviated?
Thank you, Kingsley. It's always so because of our very terrible state of preparations most times. I'll give kudos to the present ministry. They've really tried. They've involved, the private sector. The minister has come with a new one, adopted, an athlete thing. And you see, it takes pretty time, to prepare for the Olympic Games. And when you prepare, and you are going to compete against the very best in the world, everything must have to be in tip-top, shape. For our athletes in Nigeria, it has not always been so. Most of the time, we have what I can call fire brigade approach, to our preparation to the Olympic Games, and that is not in any way good or nice for the athletes. Why do I say fire brigade approach? Let me give you an example. 2012 in London, we didn't win any medal. The athletes came back home. President Jonathan had then, constituted the committee when, my brother Abdullahi was the sports minister, and there was this summit where really, where people put in a lot, of suggestions. Were those suggestions implemented? No. Preparing for an Olympic Games, for example, as the Tokyo Olympic Games are ending, countries are preparing for the next one. What do we have in Nigeria? The best we can have is about some 6 or 9 months, to the Olympics, itself, preparing for the Olympics. That is what I call the fire brigade approach, and it's not in any way good. And that is why some of these our star athletes now get themselves engaged, in meets around Europe. When they get themselves engaged in meets, several meets where they can, because as athletes, they have to pay their physiotherapists, they have to pay, their coaches, they have to pay, they have a lot of expenses, to settle. And once the country is not coming to their aid, they fend for themselves. That is why they get themselves engaged in so many competitions scattered around Europe, so that by the time they are supposed, to peak for the Olympics, they will have expended, their energies, in those scattered meets all over Europe. So by the time they now, and that the Olympic Games itself is not a one-off thing, like the Grand Prix, like the Golden League thing that we just run a race. It has to be in stages from the preliminaries, to the second round, third round, quarterfinal, semi-final, and then the final. And if you are not adequately prepared, and you got yourself burnt out before the main event, that's why you just see them fizzling out, maybe in the second round or third round, as the case may be. So what we need to do is to really prepare very well ahead of the big games. If, for example, Tokyo is ending, we should start preparation for the next Olympic Games the very second day we finish Tokyo Olympics. And that is the only way we can get the best from our athletes, not fire brigade approach, as we used to have.
Okay, Kingsley, you want to follow up, because I want to bring
no,
Chika.
you can proceed.
Okay,
yes.
I want to bring in Chika before we come back to the studio, to take on JJ and Mike. Chika, I'm going to ask you, because you've won laurels, what is the value that medals bring to a country? Of course, to the individual as well, but specifically to a country. And I ask this question within the context of our participation over the years. Since 1952, we've been, been at every Olympic, except of course in 1976, because of the African boycott. And of all those years, only 25 medals, 3 gold, 10 silver, and 12 bronze medals we've, won for this country. Oh dear. Okay, I hope we'll be able to, get back to him.
Claire, I don't know whether the same question I want to pop to
Yes.
Mike. But Mike, I don't want to. I know that question is still hanging. Claire, if you don't mind, what I want to get into before we run out of time is, okay, nationals participate in the Olympics. Mm-hmm. That is to say, I am a Nigerian, I represent my country, I have the pride of taking my country's flag to the event in which I'm participating. Mm-hmm. Nationality, of course, is defined in sports terms. Yes. And it is not a function, participation is not a function of residency. Yes. In other words, I can be living on the moon or living on the edge of space, like Bezos and Branson have done recently. And when the Olympics come, I come and participate in the games. What can we do to further harness the immense talents that we now have outside of our shores? But while harnessing those talents, will ensure that there's a proper linkage with the home country, and therefore be able to groom others, grow facilities, and so on and so forth, and take care of some of the issues that both yourself and Oyekale were arguing about, even though eventually we'll come to the same issue. How do we harness Nigerian nationals who are out there? We know that some of them are already participating, but how do we harness them?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Mike Brown called training camp in Las Vegas. From the indications I got, and from friends and family members, and even members of my family who have kids in college, they went for trials. Because Mike Brown doesn't know the Nigerian contingent, apart from the ones playing in the NBA. So you have about 100 plus Nigerians showing up in Las Vegas to want to train with the national team. Imagine if those trainings were happening in Lagos. Imagine if this team were brought in from the US, Nigerians. So you want to be a Nigerian, come here. Same as was done with the athletics. You know you are a Nigerian anywhere in the world, come to the national trials. Come to Lagos, and then you come and try out. Imagine if that team had 1.5 months training in Las Vegas and getting ready for this. Imagine if those Nigerians, with their teams, with their coaches, with their staff, with their support, with their parents, with their mothers and their siblings, all flying into Nigeria to come and try out in Nigeria with Mike Brown in here. It's the same thing I talk about football. Gennett Raw living in Switzerland and having training camp in Switzerland. How does that benefit Nigeria? How does that benefit us? Gennett Raw bringing all 27, 28 Nigerians coming here to train and training in Abuja Stadium would make sure that every coach in this country is keeping an eye out, because even for the training team to train with the Super Eagles, you are pushing players from Nasarawa United, you are pushing players from Customs, you are pushing players over there. Because that way, you are raising the value. Guys from First Bank and from Niger Porters, they want to dunk over somebody who plays in Orlando Magic. Even if it's a practice game, they want to dunk over him and they want to see how that goes. And in these days of technology, you will see everybody holding up in the stands, holding up to a camera, watching this, because you're recording for posterity. It has to be a strategic move by the country. Nigeria, outside Philippines, has one of the largest immigrant community. We just have a player right now who's connected to us by her grandparents. She could have chosen to play for England, she's that good, but she chose to play for Nigeria because she's connected to us by her grandparents. We need to leverage more on our immigrant community, because that ties in right now. If an Orlando Magic player or Giannis comes here and they are training here and playing here, you will now see sponsors, because the quality is now ripened. The quality is bigger. You will now see sponsors thrown into that sport. You will now see people looking at rowing and seeing a British-born Nigerian who is rowing on top of in the waters of Third Mainland Bridge training. You begin to get attracted into those sports, and the younger people here begin to say, oh, that's an outlet I can pursue. Wrestlers coming in from abroad, having tournaments in Nigeria because you want to train your Nigerian team, because Indomie is sponsoring a wrestling tournament for the best 12 countries in the world to help the Nigerian team train. Happening here in Nigeria. That's the next stage. Because now that you can leverage on your immigrant community, you need to tie them back into Nigeria, because these guys go with a train of people. You would have hotels for 7 people because one player is coming to try out. That brings money to any state that those people are trying out. Security, make sure that these places are secure, because the more secure they are, the more the naysayers who are sitting down there, who couldn't make this trip, understood that a person who has never visited Nigeria went to try out in Nigeria, lived there for 1 month, came back, and it's well. So what do you think will happen the next time the Nigerian basketball, boxing, football, rowing calls for invitations to come? You will get over 500 people over here from the immigrant community. So Nigeria is a facet and a model that is not unique in the world. It is a standalone model, and we need to start leveraging on what works for us. Because if we don't, you will now see what Chika is talking about. 6 years of working hard, 6 years of 5 or 6 people investing in this individual, 6 years of government putting in money into this space, and very little return on investment. Now everybody's going to go to the Olympic and they disperse from Tokyo. Win or lose, bring them all back home. Okay. Acknowledge them and then do something for them and then send them off, because everybody is watching. Both the ones abroad and both the ones local. You treat them well. Everybody wants to participate, to say, win or lose, Nigeria takes care of me.
Okay, Mike, thank you. I'm told Chika is back. Chika, just before we'll let you go and let JJ, of course, make his own comment. I'd like for you to make some projections. Let's look at what the medals table might look like at the end of the day. Areas of strength, of course, we know track and field, 100 meters, 200 meters, 4 by 100 meters, 4 by 400 meters, that's in the relay races. Which areas do you think we're likely to get a medal?
For Nigeria?
We are not in one of them.
Sorry, can you hear me?
For Nigeria? Yes.
Look, I don't count out anybody, and I'll tell you why. In 2008, nobody gave me a chance to win a medal. I'm the only one that knew that I wanted to win the gold, and I knew how hard I had worked for it. So I didn't owe anybody that explanation, and I went there and I did what I had to do. All I can tell you is that when I look at these athletes, I see the same kind of hunger, So I'm not going to rule out anybody. It's easy to say rowing, this is their first time, swimming, this is their first time, taekwondo, this is their first time. On paper, wrestling looks very good. All the girls are looking solid. The guy is looking solid. Athletics is looking good. When you look at their pre-Olympic performance, then it looks like they peaked just on time. We know that table tennis is difficult. So probably Aruna, last time he got to the quarterfinals. So what you're probably looking at is, can they push it? Can they make it to semifinals and all that? China has literally won all the gold medals in the table tennis event for forever, So realistically, I think wrestling will come through. I think athletics will come through. I'm hoping to push Elizabeth through. On paper, it looks like it's not possible, but we know we have the experience to make it possible. Basketball, yeah.
Well, that's a big smile there.
Yes, we're coming
Okay, that's a big smile there from Chika Chukwumerije. You just saw some low bandwidth indicator there on the screen. We know what the basketballers have done. They are all based outside, so we wish them the very best. Now that the real games will begin. Chika Chukwumerije, three-time Olympian and tech director of the Nigeria Taekwondo Federation. We'd like to appreciate you for spending time with us on Good Morning Nigeria. We hope that you to be well with you and the rest of the team, and we wish the very best for us. So, let the games begin in a couple of hours at the formal opening ceremony. All right, now back to Hamid Adio in Ilorin, still with us also via Zoom. Hamid, one issue that was mentioned in passing by Mike, I would like you to address it. Why does it appear that at the end of the games, athletes just tend to disperse into the winds? You know, whether there are medals or no medals, there ought to be some welcome back to say, oh, you guys represented us very well. We are grateful. We are thankful. You competed amongst the very best. You know, let's put in our best next time. Or this is what we're going to do. What would you like to see done at the end of the games? We know that a number of the athletes also have other international commitments. But for the majority who are available, what would you like to see done?
Well, that will be put at the doorstep of the of the government via the ministry. The ministry is supposed to make that kind of arrangement that will, bring all the athletes together after the Olympic Games to even say thank you for, representing us and, to chart the way forward. But the situation in which they allow them to just disperse and go just like that, I think is not in the best interest, of Nigeria. Because these athletes, once they come back, everybody likes to be appreciated for one little effort that you put in showcasing your talent, in representing your country, more so when you are not found guilty of any infraction or perhaps doping offenses. I think the government should really do something along that area. Take all the athletes, bring them together. We can give them a dinner where speeches will be made, to ginger them for those who have not performed very well, so that they can even look forward to better performance in the nearest future. But the situation in which just allow everybody to just disperse, I think is not in the best interest of the country.
Okay, Hamid Adio, thank you very much. We'd like to appreciate your being with us on Good Morning Nigeria today. You'll be with us via Zoom. Of course, Hamid Adio is an Olympian himself, the broadcaster. He was with us at the NTA for many years and the general manager of one of our stations. He joined us via Zoom today from Ilorin. Hamid, thanks a lot for your contribution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kensi. The last time I saw you, I was like this.
Okay, let's bring the conversation out to JJ. JJ, I remember the last National Sports Festival that held in Edo State. And at the end of it, the Deputy Governor of Edo State spoke very glowingly about, an academy where, of course, we will churn out athletes that would, become transition athletes. Do we have any of such? And maybe you also answer. Do we have any of such in this competition at the Olympics?
Well, I think there are some products from the National Sport Festival that are in the contingent to the Olympics. And right from time, we call the National Sport Festival our own Olympics. It's a dress rehearsal for the Olympics, and that avail athletes from the entire 36 states and
the
FCT to come and showcase what they have. And we are really impressed. Even as a nation, we had to battle against the odds of COVID-19 to host the National Sport Festival. And I must tell you, it was a huge success because records were set. And it's even funny, the National Sport Festival too had some people from the Principal's Cup. The Principal's Cup was just revived by the ministry, and I was surprised to see some of these secondary school students, because of what they did at the Principal's Cup, they were able to make it to the National Sport Festival. Because I was privileged to be part of the main organizing committee for both the Principal's Cup and the National Sport Festival. So I had that eye on some of them. There was another young table tennis player that made it to the festival. One lady, she won the 100 meters in the Principal's Cup, and she made it, even though she didn't win at the National Sport Festival. But you know that, yes, there is a process, there is a prospect. So, and now, from the National Sport Festival, the few of them that made it to the Olympics, I think it challenges others. But in those days, it is basically from the National Sport Festival, you make it to the cadre of representing Nigeria. And I believe we are beginning to get to that level, because that is the avenue whereby you showcase your best. It's quite unfortunate, the grades of boxers I saw at the National Sport Festival, and they are not making it to the Olympics. You need to really see them, these boxers. You need to see how competitive they are. But I'm really, really surprised that they couldn't make it to the Olympics.
One other nursery for elite athletes, it used to be the NUGA, that's Nigerian University Games, and NIPOGA, Nigerian Polytechnic Games. In fact, Hamid Adio, we just signed off, in his student days, was a great athlete, was a great sprinter. He was in the university. So what is happening, other than these stories of ASU strike, Polytechnic teacher strike, cultism, exam malpractice, what can we do, very briefly, to be sure that we can also harvest elite athletes from our universities, polytechnics, and other tertiary institutions of learning?
Mike, in few words.
Yes. And Architect Oyekale has said it. I mean, you have to have a progression. You have to have a progression. There has to be the grassroots section, which the Department of Grassroots in the ministry must deal with and disperse into 37 different parts. If you have that, and when you have that, you will begin to see things like NIPOGA become part of a building block. Same way the Principal's Cup has been elevated, you will not get NIPOGA being elevated, because the sponsorship platform is now national, and everybody is looking to make sure that the LOC for NIPOGA keys in to its timeline to make sure that NIPOGA happens right before the National Sports Festival, so that people can flow into that stream. So once we have that, then we'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, Claire, one other point. This is not a question. I was just thinking, because when you say, as our guests have suggested, Mike in particular, that we have to get into our immigrant community to get athletes, and that should not be a responsibility, I believe, of the sports ministry alone. I wouldn't know whether NITCOM, that's the Diaspora Commission, has a department or a unit responsible for that. That's one agenda that they can pursue very vigorously.
All right, JJ, I'm sorry, you can't, we don't have time for a response for that. We've been told to round off. So, Mike Enahoro, sports analyst, always a pleasure to have you talk to us about sports.
Thank you.
And architect Jacob JJ Oyekale. Oyekale.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me.
We hope to bring you back again as the game progresses for a review of the Olympics. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today and indeed for the week. We thank you for joining us. Do join us again on Monday. I am Claire Adelabo Abdul Razak. Stay safe and join the fight against rape and rapists.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo.